Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you celebrate Christmas, or unless you have a Chinese New Year, I don't know. Anyways, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing great. Honestly, I hope everybody's doing great. Today, our video is going to be about our boy Trump. He's talking about ending LGBTQ on children when it comes to doing surgeries on them, acknowledging only two genders in the United States, making that law, if I'm not mistaken. I listened to a little bit of it so I can understand context, but me and you are going to be watching it together, and let's go. So we're going to be watching it with our boy. We've done a video with him, recording him. Asmongold. Let's play that.
What they've done to this country is just absolutely terrible, but we'll end the left's campaign of racial discrimination and restore equality to our land and all over our land. And
I like what he says there regarding the left's ways of racial equality. It is, no, I'm not saying it's strictly left and it has nothing to do with the right, because that's just not true. But it is the left currently who are pretty much trying to separate races instead of uniting them with so many different things. So, and they're the ones talking about being that everybody else is racist when they're the ones being racist not only to, whites or Asians or whatever, but to themselves. Like if there's a black person on the left, they're being racist to black people on the right, and vice versa. I've seen people on the left that are white being racist to white people on the left and on the right. So it's weird. It's all messed up. I blame propaganda and the legacy media. But yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And you see that happening so much with the vote and the kind of vote we got. Nobody ever expected anything like that.
No.
And I'll end all of the Marxists.
They all did. Everybody expected. That's why they bet on it. People knew this shit was going to happen. Everybody knew this shit was going to happen.
Yes and no. Most people did, most people assumed it was going to happen, but right before the election happened, constantly I kept hearing from everywhere how they assume that Kamala Harris is going to win, how Donald Trump is losing votes on this and that. So yes and no.
It happened. The only people that didn't know it was going to happen is people that were betting on it not happening. That's
true.
it.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion policies across the entire federal government immediately. And at the same time, we will ban these unlawful policies from we're going to ban them from the private sector as well. In America, we believe in the merit system. System. And now, because of the major decision handed down recently by the Supreme Court, our country has again gone back to the merit system. That's what made our country great. And I want to just thank the Supreme Court, because that took a great deal of courage for them to do that.
So back to normal?
And some people were surprised by it.
Back to normal.
That's what made us great. Merit made us great.
He's right. I'll watch this real quick and show y'all. Thank God. Thank you. I'm a working man and it ain't right. This is the thing, is like, as a guy, right? Like, I would never support somebody that would give an advantage to somebody that I wouldn't be eligible for. I would never do it. Like, if you want to tell me that somebody is going to get an advantage over me because they're a woman or a different race than me, I will never vote for you. Not in a million fucking years. That's like chickens for KFC.
The U.S. now, Donald Trump has wasted no time preparing America about what to expect when he returns to the White House. He declared that woke has to stop, insisting that it's destroying the country, and essentially that woke is BS.
This is the rest of the question,
With the stroke of my pen
that
on
speech.
day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy.
Yeah.
And we will keep men out of women's sports.
Thank God.
Freya, I think
It's crazy that we got to a situation where that deserves applause. Wow. How did that happen? Wow.
Not only that we got to a place where that deserves an applause, which actually it should, because it's something that should be gone. But I understand where Asmongold is coming from, that it shouldn't have been something that even happened. Shouldn't have even started. When you see time after time again of women who are working their ass off their whole life to get destroyed by somebody who couldn't even place, on competitions, but completely destroying records. Or that guy who was a UFC fighter who quote unquote identified as a woman and then broke skulls. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, that's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous.
A lot of relieved parents and relieved women hearing that message.
Easiest W in history?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think this is the courage that so few
People say great distraction politics. This is the thing that people care about. People, so this is the thing, nobody gives a fuck about what happens on the other side of the world. It's abstract. It's an abstract idea. People care
True.
about what happens inside of their own head.
Yes.
And in their own everyday life. And when you fuck with somebody's everyday life and you tell them that the thoughts that they have aren't real, the way that they see the world is wrong, they are going to hate you for that. And so the problem is that you can't argue with this perspective of like, oh, well, there's like some greater goal with like these policy decisions that matter more. The policy, nobody gives a fuck about policy. They don't understand it. They can't read. Nobody knows what it is. They're not going to read a whole massive document about it. But what they do know is if somebody wants to sit there and insult their intelligence and tell them that, like, you know, it's fair for somebody to get an advantage over them, they're going to be fucking mad. And that's it. And that's the only thing that's going to matter. Like, that is the first order problem in that person's life, because it directly affects them.
Agreed.
It directly affects them. It directly targets them. And it's like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People are going to care about what's happening in their own backyard to themselves before anything else. And that's it. 100%. Yeah, if you can't understand this, you've been dumb as you dumb as fuck.
I agree. If you can't understand that, there is a problem. Maybe not that you're dumb as fuck, who knows, but it could be because you are either listening to certain networks that actually go against reality. But you just have to think of it like this, and it's not even related to the country as a whole, because just think of it as the hurricanes that happened recently in North Carolina or in the Carolinas, where they destroyed them. I'm here in the U.S., but I know people here in the U.S. that don't even know those things happened because they're so busy with whatever every day is going on in their own life, which is sad, because that pretty much is their backyard. Not quote unquote their backyard, but sort of say it is your country. You know, you want, if something were to happen to them, like I know people in Florida, California, let's just say something happened to the people in California, and those people that had didn't listen to or know what was happening in the hurricanes in the Carolinas, both sides, regardless of the left or the right or whatever, you want help from your country, okay? If you're in California, you want to know what's happening, kind of, to a sense, what's happening in your own country. You're not going to stay in California. California is not a country. Same thing as Florida. I'm in Florida. Florida is not a country. It's not its own place. You have to know what is going on around at all times. And then, honestly, I think that's just best. really. And it goes to the point where he was saying people really do focus mostly on just their backyard. It really is. If it doesn't affect them right away, pretty much they bat an eye to it. But you slowly start integrating little ideas, little things, slowly and slowly, that gets to them, but not so severe. That's how men start playing in women's sports, and men start walking into women's bathrooms, and you slowly start integrating the ideas, and just the way it is.
That's it. For real, trying to appease a moral superpower isn't wholesome. It's marketing. It's manipulative, disingenuous. Exactly. Yeah. Sending their money to foreign countries affects them, but it's more hidden. Exactly. No, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't matter, but what I'm saying is that it's not a message that an average person can relate to or appreciate. And the reason why is because an average person doesn't know where Ukraine is. Straight up.
I know people don't even know where Mexico is, and we're in the United States.
They don't know what it is. Not true.
Sad.
Average American? What state is that? Y'all really think? What do you think the percentage is of American citizens that can find Ukraine on the map?
40% maybe.
I'd say it's probably 10%.
10%? Damn.
I'd say it's probably 10, 15%. Only Americans don't know shit?
That's not
true. The rest of the
all.
world is educated? No, that's a lie.
That's a fucking lie.
I've seen retards all over the world.
Yeah.
I bet there's retards in China. I guarantee you there's retards in Britain. England's probably full of retards. Germany, so many dumbasses over in Germany. They're probably full of a bunch of morons over in Germany. I guarantee you. Absolutely. Canada, full of a bunch of dumb idiots. Russia, yep. It's the same. It's a reality.
Leaders really have. And it's easy now to look at Trump saying this stuff and be like, well, of course men shouldn't be in women's sports.
Yeah, duh.
But that was not the consensus position even a couple of years ago, even a year ago.
No, exactly. And that's the reason why is people will revolt. Like, the one thing that people hate more than anything is to live with their mind in a cage.
Yeah.
And if you tell somebody that what they see directly in front of them isn't there, they will hate you for it, and nothing else matters. Because if you don't even have autonomy over your own perception, what does anything else matter? That's it.
Things were so different, but it just shows you the power that courageous individuals can have and how we can actually turn around our culture. We really can. Conservatives often resign themselves to the backseat and say, oh, well, everything's just going to get more progressive and there's nothing we can really do about it, but try to resist as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it's a losing fight.
So, yeah, my question is, why does it matter? Not worrying about your own country is a huge reason why there's issues there are today. Who gives a fuck where it's at? I'm not, look, if you don't know where Ukraine is, I don't care if you, there are people who don't know where Ukraine is, and they are educated professionals that you would pay a lot of money for their services. That's the reality, is that you can't know everything. I bet there are doctors who don't know where Ukraine is. And you would be saying, thank God I have this doctor. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Because people don't give a fuck.
Not just that.
That's embarrassing? No, it's not. It's not embarrassing. Everything. I guarantee you, this is one thing I've learned. With almost everyone, people have, like, vast gaps in knowledge. There are so many things in the world that there are tons of, like, I learned this originally with computers. Because I remember seeing, like, I would talk to adults that I would think would be very smart as a kid, and they wouldn't understand what a CD-ROM was.
I've had
and
this
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Everybody's got blind spots, man.
Never considered it like that, but it's true.
No, we can actually turn the ship around.
Yeah.
And I think the way Trump has come out so strongly against this crazy, radical,
console players don't know what FPS is. True.
And the way he has been rewarded by the general public shows that conservatives need to get up off their butts and stop whining about always losing every fight, because they don't have to lose. We can actually win fights. And this proves if we're on the side of truth, if we're on the side of reality and common sense, we will win.
Yeah, and we
you will. She's right, 100% right about that. Yeah, she's 100% right. Absolutely truth. Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah, absolutely, it's the truth. It's not even a question. Like, you ask people about the things that Trump is saying, you're going to get 80-90% of people saying, yeah. That's it.
Not just that. She was talking about being on the side of just truth itself. I remember listening to Jordan Peterson talking about how he's had countless amounts of clients. He's a psychologist. And he said he has never seen one person ever in his 20 plus years in his practice of somebody getting away with some sort of thing that they stole, lied, some sort of quote-unquote sin that they've committed, and nobody's ever gotten away with it. If you don't get caught, or if you don't get in trouble, or if something bad doesn't happen to you, it eats you from the inside out. So soon, and then it'll affect you in the future in other ways. So you never get away from it, unfortunately, and that's just the truth. That's why I feel like so many people, at least nowadays, are coming to such an awakening of, like, oh, we should actually be for truth rather than, not just hypocrisy, but believing in whatever the hell somebody else is saying just because I deem them in higher authority, which shouldn't be the case. Just because somebody is a higher authority doesn't mean that they have the answers, or doesn't mean if they do have the answers that they're the right answers for you or for whatever the situation is. Do you get me?
Saw that in the US, didn't we, Joe? With the election results, the pendulum's really swung, and people really rejected all this woke nonsense.
Yeah, and it's not just the right; it's not just conservatives as well. So there is just a huge number of people in the Labor Party who were thinking the exact same thing, but basically thought that they were the only ones thinking it and were scared to say anything in case they were cancelled or pilloried.
That's exactly right. Like, I had a friend of mine, he and I remember we drove home from community college to watch Obama's inauguration together. We sat in my downstairs room and we watched it on my big, CRT television. And we watched him become the president of the United States. And he was telling me about how, like, he thinks, like, yeah, it's like things are way too far. Way, way, way too far. So, and like, this is us. We were celebrating that.
Now, and again, Chris Minns is the embodiment of the sensible centrist Labor Party, and he's done some fantastic things for trans people and the LGBTQ community. Done things that, if anyone else did them, would be seen to be right. He's done it from a really sort of calm and careful and considered sort of sensible position. And I think that is the problem here is not necessarily been the issues themselves, but it's been the activists behind them. And it's been like what Freya said, where you have these people who care more about the sound of their own voices than they do about actually achieving outcomes. Or indeed,
I think that the activist people just don't like them. They talk down to average people. They are insulting. They're usually very privileged. And because they're extremely privileged, a lot of them telling other people that they're privileged falls on deaf ears. And I think that creates a lot of resentment. That's a big reason why. And I think with a lot of them also, there's like massive hypocrisies. Yeah, activists are narcissists. Well,
to an extent.
I wouldn't say that they all are, but a good number of them are, and enough of them are for it to be a stereotype. And for it to put people off.
The vulnerable people who they might be pretending to represent, but where they just want an issue to fight for. They want to be on the forefront of something. They look around, oh, we've got marriage equality for gay people. Oh, what's next? Trans. So now you have to accept that trans women are women, and if you don't say that. Absolutely, and
hypocrisy is what pisses people off. Yeah.
Absolutely, all the time, no matter what. Then you're transphobic, you're a bigot, and you have to be cancelled. And they get sort of ahead of these arguments, and then they try to brainwash people and say, if you don't support everything we say, this new orthodoxy that we've spelt out, if you don't support all of it, then you're a bigot and you're on the wrong side of history. And
people do that with me. Like, I've had this happen with me. Is like people have said that I am like a racist, or I hate women, or I'm transphobic, or something like that. They say this shit with me all the time. That's it. Yeah, they do it with everyone. Exactly, right? And so that's it. Nobody cares. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the cancel gets abused. It doesn't mean shit anymore. Well, the reason why it doesn't mean shit is because people don't want it to. And it's because it did. Like back in, like for years, people would get deplatformed and they would get banned. And if somebody had like an opinion about something that was problematic, they would get in a lot of trouble for that. And people.
Well, just look at what happened during the pandemic, where it would be doctors and nurses that, said things regarding certain medicines, and they were getting deplatformed, or they were getting shadow banned, or they were just getting, a lot of things, people getting fired for it. So it was pretty crazy.
People would hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that's the reason why. It's because people started fighting back. Exactly. Thank God.
They did ban Trump. I remember that.
It's just progress, and so conservatives think, oh, gee, that's progress. That's what I don't want to, end up looking like, a white supremacist during slavery or whatever. I better just do whatever they say. And of course, if you are seen to cross them, and
pressure.
They do pile on, as we will see later on the show. Then it is just absolutely brutal and it's ferocious. And people who would otherwise be...
Why do people care what strangers said on Twitter? The reason why is that the strangers would go to the person's job and harass their family. And so like somebody would have like a bad take on like social media, and then they would dox the person and then try to ruin their life systematically. And so I think that people can see that there's like a form of unfairness there. Like it's a scare tactic. Yeah, it is. It's a scare tactic. Then stop having bad takes. Well, the thing is that like if you say that and it's like, okay, well then just don't say the thing that they don't want. Well, then they're going to turn around and do that to you.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Like, you remember after the Trump assassination, and a lot of conservatives got together and ruined a bunch of people's lives over that. And I think that that's kind of that's the same thing, really. And so, yeah, it'll never be enough. No. Well, like, if you create a weapon, people are going to use the weapon against you. And I think that's what happened. Does it happen often? It happens enough for people to be worried about it. So I think that, like, do you remember so this is a good way to look at it. Do you remember the whole thing about, like, would you rather be in a abandoned forest with a man or a bear? And, like, women saying that they'd rather be in a forest with a bear? Well, that's a clearly illogical perspective to have, right? And it's an emotional perspective. Like, any logical person that thinks about this would know that this is retarded. But people think that because of their fear, right? They're afraid. And the male version of that is thinking that anytime that you try to message a girl or interact with a girl, you're going to get in trouble for sexual harassment. Like, these are two sides of the same coin. And I think that in a lot of cases, you have people that it doesn't have to happen all of the time in order for people to be fucking freaking out about it. Another example is fentanyl. So you guys ever seen like how they have like fentanyl, like Narcan and like things to like stop fentanyl overdosing in like CVS now? And people would be talking about this?
Yeah, they do.
Right?
CVS,
yeah.
Walgreens,
how many times do you think people really are overdosing on fentanyl randomly? Basically fucking never. Almost fucking never that happens.
Is that true?
But the worry of it is so precise in their mind that they want to make sure.
I don't know. He says fucking never, but fentanyl is a hell of a drug. And I think people are dying from OD and fentanyl way more often than fucking never. So, I don't know about that. Because the amount, especially if you go to, where was it, in Philly? They have that road, and then they have a lot of places in Cali too, where it's just, you know, they have places, the government established areas where people can pick up clean needles so that they don't die from disease and whatever. It's still fucked up because you're pretty much supplying them with the tools for them to do what they, you know, a drug, which is horrible for you. Don't do it. Yeah, saying fucking never is not true. I understand where he's coming from, but I don't know. I would like to see some statistics before I agree to what he's saying.
That they're safe. Wrong all the time. In LA, it's daily, bro. How many people are in LA? Happens a lot every day? No. I mean, if you're a crackhead, yeah, sure, you can overdose on fentanyl. Maybe that's what happens. Bad take, bro. They don't think they're taking fent. No, there's people that think that they're going to get injected with needles randomly with fentanyl because it happened at a couple of concerts.
True.
That's it. That's the reason it. Okay. And so anyway, people think this. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Like, this is what goes on in people's heads. Now, everybody thinks that I'm crazy, but I want to tell you, I've been right about every fucking one of these things. I know how people think. And the reason why I think I know what people think is I think of the stupidest thing possible. That's what people think. That's what it is. You're absolutely wrong? Yeah, just like I've been wrong about everything else. Anyway, so yeah, it's true. The threat of getting canceled, the threat and the worry in the back of the mind, that's what's dangerous. And when people see it can happen to somebody else, they think that it can happen to them. Not informed enough about this? Look up the numbers, bro. Of what?
Oh, average he's doing
people,
numbers?
Average people that are getting injected without their consent for fentanyl. There's probably double-digit, if not single-digit numbers. Fractional. Tiny. In a country of hundreds of millions of people. So, yeah, that's the stupidest thing. Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, it doesn't have to be injected. There's people randomly selling you fentanyl. So anyway, it is not right. It's fake pills, for sure. Your take is disrespectful and delusional. All right, we're going to pull it up. Fentanyl overdoses per year. What is this here? 77,000 people have overdosed on fentanyl. So how many of these people? So let's just be logical here, right? Let's just be logical. And so in 1 year, right? So that's a shit one? Nah, but a lot of these people right here are people that are overdosing at drug deaths. Yeah, a lot of people, synthetic opioids, methadone. You are not counting the people that are doing fentanyl on purpose. These are people who have also done fentanyl as well. Tyler supports what you're saying. Latest video in Philly. Yeah, they don't get it. Yeah, exactly. No one is? You think people don't do fentanyl? Man, I don't know. Why are people so retarded nowadays? It's so sad. 77,000 people get killed by this, and you think every single one of them did it on accident. How can you be so stupid? What are the probabilities there? How many people are in the United States? Let's go ahead and do a calculation. Let's go ahead. We'll do a little bit of a calculation.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
It's like 360 million, right?
Yeah, something like that. 360.
So let's divide this by 100. So what's 1% of that? 3.6 million people. Okay? So let's divide that by 100. 36,000. So you are 0.02% likely to have this happen. And it's in every store. That's my point. And that is the most generous Oh, yeah, 0.02. I think that it was assumed, but yes, 0.02. That's being generous. Something does not have to be a high probability for it to weigh on people's minds. How many people are worried about shark attacks? How many shark attacks are there? Let's go ahead. Let's look at shark attacks. How many
I like that
people
he's doing that because I like
get
him,
attacked by
showing different
sharks,
comparisons
in the U.S. each year. 16. 36 maybe. But we have Shark Week. Or plane crashes. That's another one. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you, like, this is clickbait, honestly. It is.
It's fear tactics.
I understand that people might immediately...
One of the ways that the media... I have a degree in advertising when I went to college. And one of the things that they teach you is how to attract more people to whatever you're trying to get them interested in, okay? And one of the best ways is what news networks do. It's called fear tactics. And when it comes to fear tactics, people will watch the shit out of something because they're afraid. Way more than they would watch something because something great happened. Honestly. That is why when you turn on the news, 99% of what you're watching is depressing. It's somebody dying, some horrible incident, or even if they can't find anything, then what they do is they turn something into less of what it could have been good. They'll turn it to less of what it was and trying to make whatever they're trying to push out, I guess you can say, more fearful, so that you would then watch and listen to them as their network. You listen to their voices as authority. And that's what a lot of places and a lot of people do in general, really, for advertising, for gaining views, for you name it. It's sad, super sad, and it's very scary, in my opinion.
Immediately disagree with what I'm saying, but there is truth to it. And I can apply this logic to 100 different situations and get the exact same result. And that's the truth. And so you can look at seatbelts, fucking car accidents, or not car accidents are the dangerous one. Plane accidents. You can look at shark bites. Or plane crashes. That's another one.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys.
They can just repeat it. Let's fast forward this.
I think that's the case with most social causes, is that the majority of people do them for social reasons, and they don't actually do them because they care about them. That's the primary reason. I have an 18-year-old that works with me. He actually idolizes the views of Adolf. He says he was a genius, really crept under my skin. Oh, yeah. No,
actually,
definitely.
That's mentioning that. I've been to South Africa a few times. One of the times I went, I learned that a couple people there, well, there's a lot of people there, didn't even know who Hitler was, which it's not just in South Africa. In the United States, there are also people here that don't know who Hitler is, and people around the world. It's just a thing. But I remember, I've never heard it in the United States, but I'm sure a fact that there's people like this here as well. But when I was in South Africa, I remember talking to a woman, and she was mentioning how what Hitler did in the past was great because he was uniting his people. And I don't know where the fuck she got her information from, but when it comes to the Holocaust, the people that he killed, the millions that he killed. She barely even knew any of that. So somewhere in the world, people are gaining information completely wrong. And she was one of them. When I would explain what happened, what he actually did, the people that he killed, it was like she learned all new history, which is crazy. Isn't that insane that part is not being taught? And so people are listening to what Hitler did, and some people are viewing him as like a savior or an idol. Crazy.
And it's gonna get worse. It's going to get way worse. Like, you think it's bad now? Wait for 5-10 more years.
Wonder why he says
like,
that.
It's going to be probably 5 times as bad as it is now.
We're moving to. No one will tell you. But what are we progressing towards? Just endless revolution, endless tearing down of the cultural fabric, endless undermining of everything, you know, that's built Western civilization, because that is progress and that is the only value that they hold. But conservatives will win, and I don't even think it's conservatives necessarily. I think people on the side of truth will win.
Normal people.
When we actually stick to truths that have held the test of time, gender being one of them. Hey, the fundamental binary that at a base level distinguishes the most fundamental differences between human beings, gender, that's actually a real thing. And yes, there are only 2. If we stick to
this is one of the things that totally put people over the edge.
That video?
I actually think that this matters more than any foreign conflict. This put more people over the edge than anything else.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah.
And even babies can tell boys and girls. Ask the scientists. The woman's brought up the right. Yeah, no, I'm saying easiest radicalization of my fucking life. Yeah, I think this radicalized more people than almost anything else. And I think that the multiplier onto this was the focus on having it targeted towards underage people. Underage people, and then the sports thing.
Yeah.
Like, those 2 things coming together, that dialed it up to 11. Why did it? The reason why it did is because people don't agree with it, and they're not allowed to say that. I can't speak for, what is it like in India or China? I don't know. But here in Western culture, the idea of being able to speak your own mind and have your own opinions of things is in the DNA of the culture and the society. And the moment that you take that away from somebody is the moment that you are completely against the vast majority of people. That's the reason why. No, it's not. It is. It absolutely is. It's built into our laws. It's built into our Constitution. It's built into what our Constitution was built off of. It's built into a Greek philosophy, which is what a lot of people refer back to. As I said, it's in the DNA. It's for over 1,000 years. What are we talking about?
Truth
Absolutely
as
it
our
is.
core value, we will always come out on the right side of history, because eventually truth will prevail. Reality is what you run into when you're wrong, and the left is running into reality fast because they're fundamentally wrong.
Well said.
That's right, and it's sorry, this obsesses me, but that's right. I mean, so the key here is
Who says you can't disagree? Nick Merckx, Call of Duty. When Nick Merckx lost his skin with Call of Duty because he said that he didn't want to have, a gender ideology and LGBT stuff in a school with elementary kids. Yeah, that happens. That radicalizes people. It does. It does. That immediately radicalizes people.
He's not the one. That's happened to many people.
All he said was to leave the kids alone. Yeah, and people can look at Activision, right? Because Activision makes Call of Duty. Activision Blizzard has another game, Overwatch. Overwatch is in a country. They do their World Cup in Saudi Arabia. Now, who do you think has more extreme views on LGBT? Nick Merckx or Saudi Arabia? I think that an average person can see that. And an average person can see how fucking ridiculous that is, that they have rappers, people that make rap songs about killing people. But he can't say that. It's the optics, yeah, and people are tired of that. Yeah, you weren't saying these things during COVID. It was like Hitler, if you said anything against vaccines, you'd be deplatformed. Even random comments on Facebook were permabanned. Yep, that's right.
Ridiculous.
It's so fucking pathetic. Like Disney and Blizzard played into this for profit gains. Well, they're still going to do it. Yeah.
Well, Disney and Blizzard did utilize the shit out of that for profit gains. It also caused them to have losses. What was the phrase? You go woke. Once you go woke, you go broke. Just think of Bud Light. Jaguar is starting to do that. Target did that. But the companies, I don't know, I haven't seen Jaguar's financial statements or anything like that. But I know Disney at one point was starting to go down. Bud Light, there's a new slogan. You Bud Light yourself. You say something so radical regarding LGBTQ or whatever, then people are saying you Bud Light yourself. That's what they were talking about. Jaguar Bud Lighted themselves. And Target having a whole section for LGBTQ, which caused many people to just stop going to Target in general. So companies are doing these things because of, one, they want to make more money. Okay, you want to make more money, I want to make more money, everybody wants to make more money. The people that have a lot of money still want to make more money. They're not stopping, they want more money. Okay, I understand, and I think everybody should understand. Okay, now here's where it comes. Yes, you want to make more money, but now the company that you represent, are you going against certain things that you used to represent? Are you going towards some idea that you shouldn't? There's many different things that go into it. Major companies like that don't really focus on such little topics like that because they focus on their shareholders. Let's just use Disney for example. And people are talking about how Disney is super woke now. Their stock fucking skyrocketed, what, three weeks ago, something like that? Skyrocketed, okay? And the reason being is because they have I think there was a new individual who joined their Disney. But they're still with their wokeness, and regardless, whatever they're going to do is they're going to do. Let's just say Donald Trump becomes president. What do you think Disney is going to do? They're then gonna move from being extra woke to lowering that standard because they need to appease the people now in power, so that in turn, hopefully you'll increase their stock so more people would watch, or go attend their events or venues or their parks or their cruises, their whatever, buy their merchandise. So there's so many different things that they would do. The world could be ending tomorrow, and then they will release a movie before the world ends about how the world ends, because then they're going to try to capitalize last second on money. That's just what they do. That's what most businesses do. Look at holiday season when it comes to selling. LGBTQ week. There's companies during that week that fucking rainbows up their ass. As soon as that fucking month, LGBTQ month ends, or week, whatever the fuck it is now, man, that shit is gone. Those rainbows are history. They're gone. And the people that are in LGBTQ, they're the ones who should be like, what the fuck? I thought you guys supported us. No, they more likely than not, they don't give a shit what you think. They don't give a shit what you represent. They're looking at their finances, their financial, statements that they're going to release, so their shareholders can see growth within the company so that they will get investments. That's what they want. That's what all companies pretty much want. So that's just the way it is. It's all a money thing. That is all it is, to make more money. And I hope he definitely can understand that people just want more money.
Modern culture in Saudi isn't like that anymore. You'd be surprised. That's why I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia and go to the Middle East myself because I want to see what it's really like.
I don't.
No, I agree, but I think there are a lot of people there that are not fans of it. That's why I wanted to go myself.
I don't think I would ever want to go to Saudi Arabia. And if for the people that live there, and if you're watching the videos, I have literally nothing against you. I have friends from Saudi Arabia. It's one of the reasons I don't want to go. I have friends that are from Saudi Arabia. I knew air hostesses who hated when they had to go to Saudi Arabia because the way that they were treated was horrible. And it's not just from the men, because the men gave them looks, even though they were trying to dress with their, decent, wearing what they're supposed to. It was the women who were the aggressive ones towards the women. I remember this air hostess telling me she went to Saudi Arabia and she went to the mall, and in the mall you can remove your, the women can remove that, sorry, I don't want to butcher it, that thing over their head, okay? So they're able to remove it. And she had a woman spit on her face because of removing it, calling her a whore and this and that. But it's crazy. He says it's changed, but how much has it changed for them to, like that much? This wasn't too long ago. How much has it changed? And on top of LGBTQ, this is just off topic. Or I guess it kind of relates to it. I remember the left are the ones who supporting Ukraine more than anybody, want that war to continue, to beat Russia, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've been hearing it for the last few years. I don't have to beat you in the head with something you know. And the left are mainly the ones who support LGBTQ. And I remember the LGBTQ community having flags for the Ukraine, but the Ukraine had, I think they had prison or death sentences for not even just LGBTQ, but for homosexuality. So people are not understanding whatever they're not understanding what they're with the stuff they're supporting, and it's kind of crazy because they listen to one, like we were talking about earlier. You listen to one fear-mongering news network, and that's where you're gonna get all your resource from. You're not gonna actually know from both parties. To know what's going on, you have to know the whole story. Okay, if you have two kids and you only ask one of them what happened, without knowing what the other kid is going to say, so you can't compare stories, you're only going to have one story, so you're going to be biased, or either you're just going to be uninformed, and it could be the false information, not only false information, but then you can do something with that information that will then make it even worse. You get me?
If I go, by the way, which it's not an if, I really plan on doing it, like probably about this same time next year. I'll probably go with like S-Fan, Nick, and Tips, and maybe a couple other guys. We're gonna stream the whole thing.
Can you stream there?
Yeah,
I don't know.
stream the whole thing.
I don't know.
And so like we got somebody
outside.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the most important person. My dad. My dad also wants to go. So yeah, no, we talked about it for like a lot now, for like a month, and so that's it. And yeah. You're gonna literally spend Christmas. It'd be after, like probably at the end of at the beginning of the new year. Will you get to the truth when streaming everything? I hope so. Yeah, that's why I want to. I want to see it for myself, because I've heard a lot of conflicting information about that too.
Yeah,
a lot of very conflicting information, and I want to see it for myself. Didn't a streamer get arrested for streaming before? Aren't you worried? I'll work and cooperate with the authorities, respect their culture, and follow all of their laws, and follow their traditions and respect the way that they live and the way that they do things over there, because I am a guest in the country and I am a normal person.
I agree. That's what you should do as a normal person. That was that one streamer guy, but that was in South Korea. He was trying to push the boundaries of what he can do in the country regarding laws. Some stupid ass streamer. I think it's from the US too. Some stupid ass. And South Korea got a hold of him. I don't know. Last I heard, he was getting a prison sentence of 6 years in South Korea. Holy fuck, that sounds scary. Just thinking it. Like, going to prison in the United States sounds scary. But at least I know what they're gonna say. The people in prison speak English, hopefully. I'm sure some of them speak different languages too. But for the most part, they're gonna be speaking English. You go to prison in South Korea and you don't understand Korean, you're fucked. They could talk about whatever behind your back and you're fucked. Probably literally too. But we don't have to talk about that now. So we're gonna end it there. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like the video, please like the video. As always, it helps me out a lot. On top of that, if you don't mind subscribing, why wouldn't you? Come on, help me out. On top of that, you can go to our website. It's in the link below. We got some cool stickers. We ran out of all our magnets. They got bought out. Shit's nuts. It was crazy. And our shirts. We're getting more shirts. They're cool. But as always, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, be safe out there. And I will see you all in another video.